Watching Tiny Jag after the Tim Pool shout out, the algorithm started showing me rap videos. My question is, when did being a junkie become cool? I'm not talking about having a beer or smoking a J. I mean painkillers, opiates, central nervous system depressants. Cough syrup is in the same family as heroin, and heroin was never cool. Heroin, crack, ice are not in any way cool. And let me tell you, as someone who isn't me told me, that kicking opiates is a pain in the ass. They call it kicking because your body has little convulsions, thus your legs kick out as you try to sleep. It's possible to get clean, but it's going to hurt. Again, Swim, someone who isn't me, told me, if you want to get clean, follow a strict schedule of steadily decreasing doses. Keep in mind, it may take some time. It might take up to a year. Attend a 12-step program and pray to God every day. You can be an atheist and still pray. I know that sounds crazy. Anyway, here's the thing about hard drugs. One day you're going to have to quit, so have an exit plan. But really, why would you start drinking cough syrup in the first place? Another thing to keep in mind with drugs or alcohol, miet. Make it a treat. That came from a Sarah Silverman book. I forget the title of the book. Something about has a word P in it. That's all I remember. And it was pretty funny. Smoking weed every Friday night is one thing. Smoking weed every day is something else. If you smoke weed and eat pussy every day, you won't have time to do anything else. That reference is, you can look that video up on YouTube. It's a parody of, I guess it's a parody of rap videos. It's pretty funny. Anyway, drinking cough syrup is all fun and games until you discover it's not fun and games, and then you're left with tattoos on your face and a mumble rap CD that nobody wants. And saying CD probably dates me. Well, when I was a kid, kids sold their rap on cassettes for $5. Okay, on to Ironheart. Ironheart 7 is a comic that is marketing to the 13-year-old African-American female audience, which, as we know, is a huge market. Literally dozens of African-American teenage girls are buying this comic. Oh, wait, what's that? Nobody is buying this comic. The first issue, 41,000 sold, or I should say shipped. Second issue, 18,000. Third issue, 14,000. By the sixth issue, it's down to 11,000 copies shipped. And remember, that's not necessarily sold. So they will cancel it before too long. Maybe it's a maxi series or a mini series. I don't know how many issues they have planned, but it's not going to go on too much further when they're selling like this. The first page, let's take a look here, introduces the three main characters. And here's where it gets weird. Where's the male character introduced? Okay, so the two girls, and then the guy character in the background on the top portion. Two girls and the guy character carrying his pizza. Pretty little girl, male character, I think. I'm not sure because they all have mental illness haircuts, except for the little pixie girl who has a kind of a cute haircut. That's a guy, sort of. Not the androgynous. Where are my breasts? I don't know. Apparently, the writers and the artists. I don't know who pulls the strings. I assume the writer pulls the strings, but you can include breasts. Here's where it gets weird. The Wasp, the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, am I right, is a cute little pixie girl in a dress, obviously a young girl. The other two characters are way more androgynous. Both are wearing pants, and both have the sides of their head shaved in the mental illness haircut that SJWs are so fond of. If you didn't know, one's a boy, you might get confused. And I get it. The characters are teenagers, but teenage girls have breasts. It's called puberty. Girls become women. They start ovulation and they develop breasts. Check out Chelsea Cain's Man-Eaters if you're unclear. Apparently, bleeding girls turn into mountain lions who are trans-exclusionary radical feminists. Never thought I would say that line. The book introduces zombies, and while I do love zombies, obviously, zombies usually need to be introduced in a minor key, not a major key, unless it's for comedic effect, like Shaun of the Dead. So the tone of the story is all wrong. It's discordant. Either be funny or be dark. The story manages to be neither. It's not even exactly boring. It's not long enough to to be boring. It's just something that missed the mark. But it missed the mark for $4. You can't be mundane for $4. Mundane costs $2. Okay costs $3, and good costs $4. Great is $5 and above. Spoiler, almost nothing you find on the shelves is worth $4 or above. There's a channel called The Fourth Age who takes a very deep dive into the cultural significance of comic books and what they're really trying to say. Anyway, the usual tropes are here. The good characters are African Americans, and there's an overrepresentation of blondes and red hair among the antagonists. And Marvel is quick to include women in hijabs as often as possible, and African Americans, unless they need to be portrayed in a negative light. Then they are completely disappeared. It's almost as if they have an agenda. Then at the end, the writers totally cucked the male character. Where did that go? Actually, they cuck him twice. When he wants to join the mission, and they make some comment like, he says, let's go kick some zombie butt. He's got his baseball bat and his knee pads and elbow pads for some reason. And, these two teenage girls tell him, oh, you can't come. Why not? Because it's not safe. Why you gotta do him like that? That's not, imagine if you swapped the sex roles. It was two guys telling a girl with a baseball bat and knee pads that she couldn't come on a zombie killing mission. I think you'd have a problem with it. Oh, come on. You don't need this. The soylent mouth, the open soylent mouth. No, you shouldn't do that to any of the characters. You're supposed to make the characters, they're supposed to look cool. They cuck him. Here's a crowd scene. So the protagonists are two African Americans and the Wasp girl. But then the antagonists there's a overabundance of blondes and red hairs. Shouldn't there also be some? There's one African American, blonde. Can't tell. Reddish blonde. Blonde in the background, reddish hair in the background. Can't tell for the rest of them. It's kind of weird. But then they go to fight the big boss, and he says, there comes a time in every hero's life when he must confront the limits of, you should wait here. Couldn't agree more. No, you can't do that to one of the heroes. You just can't do that. It seems like even though he's black, he's also male, so they treat him like a complete and total bitch. I don't know who wrote this. I just looked at it 30 seconds ago and I already forgot. I should probably check out her Twitter. I'm sure it would say a lot. But apparently the evil of being male trumps the beneficence, if that's a word, of being black. Anyway, the thrust of the book seems to be women are awesome, men not so much. It's very dull. It doesn't take a stand. The characters are never at risk, and the protagonists don't have the moral high ground because they physically attack the zombies when they simply could have flown over them and avoided any conflict. It feels forced, as if they needed a fight. They needed a fight scene, and they just kind of shoehorned it in there. And of course, the characters are never at risk because they're purse puppies is the reason. If you have a female character or a African American character, they can do no wrong. They can doubly do no wrong. A female or darker skin can do no wrong. That's simply how it's like an algebraic formula, a function machine. If skin darker than X tone, no wrong can be done. If XX, no wrong can be done. You can't give them any conflicts that they can't get out of. So it makes the story extremely dull. Basically, every character is Superman. And I know Professor Geek was trying to explain that Superman can be an interesting character, but I always looked at him as a kid and thought, no, there's no way in hell is Superman interesting to me. He's way overpowered. I liked Daredevil and Spider-Man, characters that were slightly less powerful. They still had to struggle and they weren't just all walking muscle like, the Hulk or Thor or something. I liked characters that were acrobatic and they had to use their minds. And Spider-Man was an extremely intelligent character. Anyway, so if you see a darker skinned character or a female, the story is going to be absolutely flat and boring. Actually, it's as a consequence of this kind of social justice trope. The most interesting characters are the ones of European descent because you can give them problems. You can make them, alcoholics, or you can give them challenges and they can fail and then they can have a redemption arc. But you cannot give an African American character or any African character or even an Asian character, a Latino character, you can't give them a challenge and can't have them fail. Not in modern comics. And I know that the people who write this understand good storytelling, but I think they've kind of painted themselves in a corner where they can't get out of it. They can't give a woman, a female character, especially a female African character, any kind of multifaceted character approach. She has to be 100% right 100% of the time. Anyway, like I said, they attacked the zombies. They could have flown over them. The scene is completely forced. And just because this comic is for kids, it doesn't mean it can be this poorly written. Kids, you can write these. Now that I think about it, maybe the goal of these maxi series or series of like less than a 12 is that they know they're going to be poorly written. The characters are not going to be multifaceted. And so kind of before you have the opportunity to get bored, the series is over and you're up to a number 1 again. I guess that's probably the logic behind it. And this guy wrote in, I swear, I think he wrote in earlier and they just, he writes in every couple months. He says, Ironheart continues to impress us out here in geekdom. For me, it's a good lesson in parenting. Riri Williams continues to be a walking, talking advertisement for STEM. Those of us with daughters love Ironheart because she is everything we hope our daughters will aspire to. Those of us with daughters love Ironheart. And by the way, a special shout out to the colorist. His color is deep and evocative. Evocative of what? And so, as a great man once wrote, enough said, Rabbi Stephen LeBow, Georgia. That English is a bit odd. Starting 2 sentences with and. Those of us with daughters love Ironheart. Shouldn't there be a comma somewhere in there? You say you're a rabbi, but rabbis and the Jesuits are like the most learned religious people in the world. I'm pressing F to doubt that you're actually a rabbi. We appreciate that, Rabbi. A fun fact that many people may not know, in a former life, I was a middle school science teacher, so I am a big believer in STEM education, the importance of role models in that area. I couldn't agree with you more. The colors are evocative, but we don't say what they're evocative of. Maybe I'm misunderstanding this. Anyway, this is, like I said, it's $4. Definitely wasted. It's not, nothing's at risk, so there's no tension. And a good story has, what is a good story? A good story has tension and resolution. Eve Ewing wrote the book? Is that the guy who writes Immortal Hulk? And so some Jewish guy and some Italian guy wrote the book. I don't know who the other guys are. Probably another Italian guy. But there's no, you got to have tension. You got to resolve that tension. You have to have challenges, and they need to overcome the challenges, or maybe they don't overcome the challenges. Maybe they fail. God forbid a non-German Aryan blonde person actually fail in one of these comics. It would be absolutely haram. Yeah, I don't know. This is just kind of sad to see. Anyway, check out The Fourth Age and check out Tiny Jag if you're into the kind of music. Some of it's pretty good. Anyway, like and subscribe and leave a comment. Thanks.